Hello, I'm Brian Wilford, Member of Parliament for Richmond Hill, and this is MP Report. Parliament resumed this week, and we had a number of issues that have come forward. One of them is on the issue of internet downloading, and I want to first of all inform you that back in December, on the 13th of the month, I wrote the Minister of Industry with regard to the CRTC preliminary decision on this. And now the government, which has the ability, through order of council, simply to negate the decision by the CRTC, in fact has now been simply fumbling around looking for answers. Reality is that we are in support of competition. This does not support competition. And the fact that so many constituents clearly out there are concerned about this, and my approach has been get ahead of the parade. Back in December, asked the minister, still didn't get a response, but the response of the minister in Parliament has been essentially, well, we're going to review it. Now we're going to maybe not accept it. The fact is that Cabinet can override a decision of the CRTC. The government needs to act now on behalf of consumers across this country. An issue I spoke on this week in the House was on C-42, the Aeronautical Security Act. Concern with regard to that is that if you are a Canadian passenger flying from Toronto to Vancouver and you happen to fly over U.S. airspace, the government will turn over all the information about those passengers to Homeland Security. Concern, obviously, is privacy. Why, if you're not stopping in the United States, you're not transferring in the United States, that kind of information would be turned over to the Americans? This has, of course, led to questions such as the Prime Minister will be in Washington on Friday, the 4th of the month, and he'll be talking to President Obama, and clearly it seems to be about the whole issue of a security perimeter around North America. So that would, in fact, then imply that that kind of mission would be given on a domestic basis, not as an international flight. Now, at the present time, if you fly from one country to another and you stop over, yes, that information is made available. But privacy of Canadians is my top concern. It's the top concern of the Liberal Party. And obviously, these changes are not, in our view, in the public interest. I also want to point out that this week in Parliament, we have been pressing this government to come clean when it comes to the issue of the $6 billion corporate tax cuts. It was the Liberal government that reduced corporate taxes from 28% down to 18%. But unfortunately, when you have a $56+ billion deficit, giving a $6 billion tax cut does not seem to be a wise move. That money could be used for health care, for post-secondary education, help Canadian families, help those who are seniors, our pensioners, and yet the government wants to give a $6 billion tax cut to the largest corporations in Canada. It doesn't make good economic sense, doesn't make good fiscal sense, and it certainly is not good public policy. And again, we oppose that. Some of you have asked, will there be a federal election? The answer is very simple. In a minority parliament, the government governs by the will of Parliament. In other words, the government has to put water in its wine, and opposition parties put water in their wine. They do not govern by themselves. It takes one political party to support the government. If the government doesn't do the proper outreach, then the government would fall. So it's only by the will of Parliament. Mr. Harper does not have majority, and therefore he has to work with other political parties if indeed he wants to have this government continue. I believe that we are there to work on behalf of Canadians. And to have an election would be, I think, very opportunistic, particularly if Mr. Harper would engineer one. And as you know, in 2008, he actually had an election law which he broke and called a snap election. It has been a very busy week. We have been responding to many issues from our Ottawa office. We also have sent out a householder, which is a questionnaire on the upcoming budget. I'm asking for your input, your ideas on the upcoming budget, which will probably come down sometime in March. Now, unfortunately, due to a printing issue in which we were not informed until late, on the householder it says February the 10th. We are asking that, in fact, you respond back to this office by February the 28th. That'll give you time to answer our questionnaire. It's also online, so if in fact we've already had many people respond online, if you'd like to answer, go to my website, brianwilford.ca, and check on the budget site, and you can respond that way. Again, I appreciate your watching. This has been Brian Wilford. Thank you again.